All right, guys, this is William. Just want to show you some basics of Adobe After Effects, how we can animate this Domino's call to action animation. So I made a really simple animation showing, what you need for your assessment too. So this tutorial will cover basic animation like position, keyframing, rotation, etc. And also we'll talk about masking, how we can divide this Domino logo into two, and a bit of a text animation, and meddling with a bit of keyframes here. So that's what we're gonna do today. Okay, to start with, I have a few files here. So I've got Domino's logo, which is a PNG, PSD file you can find on the internet. I also got a few paid images that I've generated in an AI. You can use any images, you can cut it out manually, whichever way that works for you. I'm also going to use this background file, which is not really an important thing just because I don't want the background to be too plain. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get started here. I'm going to create a new project completely. And I'm just going to import the files that I need, the Firespace, the pizza, and the Domino's logo. So I'm just going to select them, drag them right into my project here. Pretty straightforward. I'll go to composition, new composition. And here I'm just going to create HD preset 25 frames per second. Just wanted to make sure it's 1920, 1080, and 25 frames per second. The duration is very important. I'm going to set it just about 5 seconds here. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter, but for the assessment's sake, I think 5 seconds just right. Okay, and to start with, I'm just going to drag this the pizza oven right into the timeline. And it fits right there, which is good. But of course, it's too striking. I wanted to make it a little bit darker, a little bit. I'm going to use a bit of a red color because Domino uses red color as well. So it's super simple. I'm going to go to layer. I'm going to add a solid color layer and I'll overlay it. So I'm just going to go to layer, new solid. And here you can pick any color you like. So you just click on that one, choose any color you like. I'm just going to go with this dark red. So I'm going to press OK. You shouldn't have to change anything here. It should be just the right dimension for your project. Okay. All right. So it shows up just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the mode. By the way, if you don't see the mode here, what you want to do is you want to make sure go to the bottom left corner of Adobe After Effects and turn on two of these little icons. Because if you turn them off, you will not see the transparency in anything. There will be a very, very small window. So I like to click these two icons here to open up the mode and the track matte because that's what I use a lot. So under the mode, when you click on the normal, this should come quite familiar to you because that's what we have in Photoshop. Very, very similar to what we had in Photoshop. You can choose multiply, you can use overlay, soft light, etc. Whichever thing that you feel like using. I'm going to use multiply for that because it gives you very nice and dark there. I'm quite happy with that, so it's a good habit to just lock these two layers so that we don't mess them up. I'm happy with that. I'm going to leave it as it is. Okay, the next one is the pizza. So I'm just going to drag and drop the pizza onto the timeline. What I want to do the pizza is I want the pizza to come on from left to the right. And I want it to rotate at the same time a little bit clockwise. So to do that, I'm just going to go down to the pizza. I'm going to open up that little triangle or the arrow. Open the transform. I will make sure that my timeline is a very at the very start of it. I'm going to turn on position and rotation because these are the two attributes that I'm going to animate. So make sure you click on these stopwatch icons once each. And at this 0 point, I'm just going to drag this outside just like that. And I'll also rotate it a little bit to the anti-clockwise so that it can come in just about the right amount when it comes to. So I'm going to use about -70, but it doesn't really matter how much I want to do. And I will go to about 1 second here, and I'm gonna drag this pizza here and somewhere around there. And I will just change the rotation back to 0, so that should reset my rotation. So if you play it, you should have that little animation just like that. That's pretty okay. That's a pretty good start. I'm happy with this for now. I'm gonna close that. It's a simple, right? So the next one, I'm going to use the logo. So the logo here though, I'm gonna drag it there. It's quite huge, so I'm just gonna scale it down. Again, I'm just gonna go to here, transform and scale. I'm gonna drag this value to lower like that. Okay, not too small, not too big. Now it's a little bit big, so I'm gonna make it roughly maybe about 20%. That looks just right for me. And what I need to do is I need to split this logo into two, if you remember the animation that we use. So to do that, we actually can't split it into two. So I'm gonna duplicate this into two. So what I would call is, I'm gonna change the name of this file to logo, let's call it red. And what I would do is, I'll select this one. I'll go to the pen tool. I'll click on that, click. Just remember, when you're using a pen tool, when you're a beginner, just click. So I've got the red part of the logo. I can adjust it a little bit, fine tune it to make sure I get a nice and neat little squarish logo. That looks pretty good for me. All right, I'm gonna duplicate this one. So to duplicate it, you can press Command D, or then you can go to Edit and click Duplicate. So we'll duplicate it, but this is still the red logo. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna press Enter. I'm gonna change the name to blue. I want a blue one. Currently, this one has a mask. So all I need to do is I just need to open up that little one, because my mask currently is showing the red side of the logo. So I'm gonna go to mask, open it. You just follow that mask there. And mask one is currently at. What I'm gonna do, just check on the inverted, which means it will show the opposite side of the mask, if it makes sense. All right, so, all right, I've got two parts of the logo. So if you look at that, we can sort of move it around. It looks like that, but that's exactly the blue logo. And this one, it's the red logo here. So we can move the red logo around. Okay, so to do the animation, again, I'm gonna have to animate the position. So I'll select both of the layers by holding down the Command and click. I'm gonna press P on the keyboard to activate the position. Again, you can open up the triangles as usual if you want to, but I find it takes too much space. So I'm gonna press P to activate the position. And again, I'm going to go to about 1 second and turn on the position. What I'm gonna do is I will animate it backwards because it's easier and neater that way. So I'll go to 2 seconds. I'm just gonna add the keyframes here. So it will fix that where they are. And I'll come back to 1 second. And it's pretty easy. Just gonna select that and move it downwards. Same for this guy, move it upwards a little bit diagonal. So it will look like that. So there we go. A little bit too slow. So basically that means because two of the keyframes are way too far. Very, very simple. Select the keyframes, drag it much closer, and you should have that coming in fast and hard, like that. Just to give a little bit of a bounce effect, I'm also going to add a little bounce. It's super simple. I'm gonna set the keyframe again, roughly about 14 frame. Turn on the keyframes there. So it just marks there, no big deal. But I will come back to this slightly above 11 frame to do the bounce. So click here, just a couple frames backwards. Select the logo red, like that. So what they do is they come in here, they hit, and then they go back a little bit further apart as if they're gonna punch into each other, and then come back together. That's what we're gonna do. So that should create the dominoes, create that little bounce there. Very subtle, but it should look good. All right, moving on, we're gonna add the text there. It should be super simple. You can add a layer, text layer, or just type, use the type tool and type there. Just say Domino's. And I'm just gonna use Futura medium. Let's make the font a bit big. Maybe let's make a little bit bold. All right, that looks better. And I'm gonna make it a little bit closer. Again, you can find all these under the properties panel or corrector panel. I'm gonna move it a little bit here. Let's make it not too big and just put it around there. Let's try not to put the text too close to the edge because we wanna leave a little bit of gap between the elements and the edge. All right, I would like the text to be white. So I'm just gonna change that color fill to white. Dominoes, that's good. And I'll also create a couple more text layers. So I'm gonna say, click on that, not specials. Again, a little bit too big, so I'm gonna make it smaller. Drag that text layer, roughly about there. You can make it slightly more breathing space. And then I'll type another one for the URL. I don't know if it's a correct address, but anyway, I'll use that. Let's make it a bit smaller. Let's make the font a little bit less, let's make the font a little bit thinner, and we'll give a bit more spacing because it's a small font. That looks okay, but they don't look very well aligned. So it's a really simple fix. I'm just gonna select this, hold down the Shift key, keep clicking all three elements here, and I'll go to the Align panel. Again, if you don't have Align panel, you should be able to find it under Window, Align right there. It's super simple. I'm going to make sure that align layers to selection, which will align them to the 3 elements, and then click on that align horizontal. That should do it really well. So that's okay. And I'm going to move a little bit up and down using the arrow keys on my keyboard. That looks all right. I can also change the color of my Domino's text to red color. I'm going to pick the color from the logo because you want to keep the branding colors consistent. And then I'm going to choose the blue from this one. Okay. All right, that is all fine. And we can just animate the text. When it comes to animation of text, feel free to experiment. There are plenty of text effects that you can find under effects and presets, under animation presets, under text. So what you want to do is go to effect presets, open up animation presets, scroll down, open up text, and there are plenty of animation that you can find. There's no right or wrong answer. Find anything that you like, experiment. That's the best way to learn. You can use things like animate in, for example, fade up words. I don't know. I'm just going to drag and drop to knock knock special, tap the space bar, see how it looks. It's all right. Going to undo that. I'll probably use the reigning characters in for the knock knock special. So it will look like that, which is kind of okay. And then for the dominos.com.au, I'll probably use smooth moving. Okay, that's a little slow. We'll fix that in the next step. And then what else? And I will use evaporate effect for the big Domino's text. We can find it under text blur evaporate. Just pay a little attention to where your timeline is. So because if you put it a little bit too late there, your effect's gonna start appearing from that point. So you wanna put it early. So around there, 2 seconds mark, apply to the Domino's. So the text goes away. So obviously I need to fix some of these. So I'm gonna gather my text layers. I'm gonna actually organize them a little bit. So the logo, I'm gonna close that. I don't need to touch much. So the 3 text layers, I'm gonna select them. Again, I'm gonna press U. U is a really, really handy shortcut, which will reveal all the keyframes those are animated, which is really handy. So from there, we can see that the first one is a dominos.com.au. You can see the animation is a little too slow for my liking. Simple, I'm gonna select that, drag it much forward, drag it much closer. That should create that, the URL coming really fast. That looks much nicer now. Same with the this one, which is knock knock special. So you can see that it comes in a little bit slow. I don't really mind the speed, but let's speed up a little bit to about 1 second of animation. So they come in just right. All right, the problem here is a big Domino's text. The Domino's text is actually going away. I want the opposite of it. So currently we can see the Domino's text throughout. We don't want to see that. So if you look at the 2 keyframes, and you can see that the text disappears from this point on. It's basically because of this keyframe. When you reach this keyframe, it says that the text is completely gone. What we need to do is bring this keyframe here, drag it to the other side of that, which will create the text coming in here now. A bit too fast, so let's stretch it a little bit wider. There we go. We can see that the Domino's text coming in. Lastly, I don't want the text not to be above the Domino, so I'll just drag the Domino's text above that, so that should be the main text. It should stay nice and firm. All right, select all, Command A, U to clean it up. That looks so much better. To make it a little bit even smoother, I'm just gonna come back to this pizza. I'm gonna press U again. So this is slightly advanced things that you can do. To add a bit of an animation, kind of like ease in, ease out, what I like to do is I like to select these 2 keyframes. You can press F9 on the keyboard or right click on the keyframe, keyframe assistant, easy ease. That will make the keyframe change to a little bit of an hourglass icon, but it will slow down. So the object will slow down before it stops, which looks nicer. And I will also do that to the logo. So I'm gonna press U, so that reveals the keyframes. However, this time around, I'm gonna F9 or easy ease the first 2. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and I will do the last 2. Okay, that should look good. Very, very subtle. And also I want to add a bit of motion blur to these layers. So especially the pizza, the logo icons. So what do I mean by that? Because when the objects are moving, I want it to be slightly blurry to create a bit more realistic camera effect. It's really simple. What we need to do is just come to the pizza layer, and you see that little 3 circle icon, this motion blur. We're just gonna turn on for the pizza and the 2 logos. So now what you would see is you start seeing that becomes a little blurry when the object is in motion, which looks much nicer and more natural. And you're going to see the same with the two logos coming in. You can see that the logos are a little bit blurry. I'll just show you with and without. See, that's without the motion blur. With the motion blur turned on, they look nice. But don't worry, they will stop blurring once they stop the motion. There you go, that's the Domino's animation. Hope that explains, give you a bit of inspiration, how you can create something like that. So all the best for your assessment.